I've received a couple of questions regarding my grading policies, and I'm just going to clarify it once again. So I know I'm rare, but I only grade on a 4.0 basis. Basically, it means this. If you have a 2 on one essay and a 4 on another, you have a 3, you have an overall course grade of a B. It's easy for you all to figure out your grades on your own. Just ignore the percentages in Canvas. They have no bearing on anything. I wish I could change them and get rid of them, but I can't. I want it to be as simple as possible for you, so it's just a matter of averaging your overall grade based on the numbers that you have. Okay, with that being said, I want to talk to you a little bit about your last essay, and hopefully we can work toward having better Shakespeare essays for the next go-around. In general, I can't answer this question, but I'm going to give you my assumption is that there just was a lot of hastily written essays. There were a lot of hastily written essays, not a lot of editing, a lot of grammatical errors, and a lot of things that I think that could be just taken care of with a little bit more detail and care and time. That being said, I did send you a sample essay that Neil wrote. I thought it was one of the best in the class. No essay is perfect, but it's probably a really good example for us to look at very briefly to focus on what we want to do when we're writing academically. One of the big problems that I saw was that many of you are falling into almost kind of a grammar schoolish book report summary, and we're well beyond that now. We want to develop our ideas. We want to put forth a central concept that we call our thesis, and we want to elaborate that thesis piece by piece, paragraph by paragraph. So you kind of look at each body paragraph in some ways, not always, but most times just having some function with developing some part of the thesis. And the topic sentences of those paragraphs allow you to do that, as the notes suggest. So let's just pull up Neil's real quick. And I want to look at it with you here. Now, let's see. I'm sorry. Let me pause just for a second. Okay. So on the screen here, the first thing to note is that Neil has proper MLA form. You can see the spacing is correct. He also has an original title. You don't want to call it Constancia. That one's been taken, right? So the title is going to be something that's born of the content of your writing. Make it unique to your theme. And then this introduction is excellent. Again, it's not perfect, but it's excellent. It really develops in HST format that we have in the notes, hook, stakes, thesis. Here's the hook. History, whether we like it or not, is stained with countless atrocities committed against people all over the world. All right, that's pretty strong. And we move forward into giving the background for the reader. One thing that many of us didn't do well is assume that the reader knows nothing about the essay or about the story. You can't. In other words, I'm not the reader. The reader is anybody who can pick up your essay. And many of you just jumped in and said, Whoopi Hull does this. And the reader says, I have no idea who that is. So you have to slow down, as Neil does here. And he mentions the title. He mentions the author. He mentions the characters. And he builds up the background or stakes for the reader. And then finally, as his last sentence, as you should all do, he gives a very clear thesis. Representing a certain type of American, successful, ignorant, arrogant, naive, Whitby Hall loses his comfortable life and is forced to learn a truth that changes him into an informed, compassionate, and understanding man. So already at the end of the introduction, Neil has established these themes that he's going to discuss throughout his body, and they are things that he has come up with, that he's thinking about, and that he wants to elaborate on for the reader's sake. This is about developing ideas, right? It's not about plot summary. It's not about what happens in the story, if you will. It's about this idea here and the one that follows. He loses his comfortable life. He has to learn some truths that change him, and he becomes an informed, compassionate, and understanding man. And you can even use these terms one by one if you want to develop them that way. So now we'll just take a look at the first overall body paragraph and then quickly move on. Fuentes presents Mr. Hull as a man who, despite his success as a doctor and his love for reading, turns out to be very ignorant of the two people who are closest to him. So again, we're developing this concept of ignorance at this time, right? And we're going right back to the thesis, and Neil is starting in the order he presented these ideas: successful, doctor, ignorant, right? So now we're just going to follow through that flow and go through these concepts one by one. that's the best way to do it. It can be mixed, but when you present the ideas, A, B, C, start with A, go to B, go to C. It's the most logical way for any reader to follow you. So I also want to highlight that in this essay, he's not giving language like in the story, or when Plotnikov goes over and he talks to Mr. Hull, or when Whitby goes over to his house. The plot itself is extremely unimportant. You only want to include those passages and then analyze those passages which develop these concepts. You don't have to tell what happens in the story. All right, so that being said, as we move along to Shakespeare here, there are two things that you're going to need to do to be successful. And the first part is read really well. It'll be new, it'll be challenging for you, and you have a condensed time frame, just 3 to 4 weeks to do it. And so go through, read it, take notes. Now that you know the prompt, look for passages that help you understand how you are going to structure your response in an essay. And then the second part is outline, draft, and edit. Okay, it's a 3-part process, but you've got to give yourself time to write, to edit, and in the process of editing, you can certainly go through the list of top 20 errors in the early modules just as an editing tool so you can weed out things that bring down your grade unnecessarily. Okay, this being said, there's a lot of preparation involved in taking a class like this. It's a lot of reflection, a lot of reading before you even sit down to write. And you just got to give yourself time to go through the process. I will be here when you need me. I look forward to your questions, and just don't be shy. I look forward to helping you and meeting more of you, and it's been an honor to meet the dozen or so of you who've reached out and who I've talked to over Zoom. So I look forward to meeting more of you as the semester goes along. So have a good day, and we will hopefully talk soon. Bye.